Let's explore the unexpected truth about gentle impermanence meditation. I almost misread that as genital impermanence meditation, but that's completely different. This morning's lesson is drawn from Chenrezig's Easy Dzogchen Sadhana. Together, let's chant. Those who tread the path of Yang use the awareness of impermanence to promote a fear-driven practice, although upon this path of Yin, the awareness of impermanence could fuel all wisdom of letting go. Yes, I'm trying to be the Buddhist Dr. Seuss over here with my inelegant rhymes. So I promised you a bit of the old meditation. So we're going to use a mantra meditation. So the typical format for a mantra meditation is as follows. You gotta breathe in. If you don't breathe in, you're gonna turn blue, tip over, wiggle funny, and scare the dog. So while you're breathing in, you might as well silently and mentally recite this bit in italics, seeing change, fuels release, and then we just kind of hand it over to our subconscious and be on our way. As we exhale, we physically relax as best we can while striving to chant these 12 syllables 4 times per breath. Let's try it on for size together right now for 4 breaths. Om mani me yung, 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 om mani me yung. And once you're comfortable with the 12-syllable mantra, maybe after a day or 7, you can not concentrate but rest your eyes upon the word change, which can increase the efficacy of the practice. Om mani me yung, 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 om mani me yung. Om mani me yung, 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 om mani me yung. Om mani me yung, 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 om mani me yung. And then if you wanted to, you could arrest the mind in silent meditation, and we'll get into those instructions several minutes from now. Using Buddhist mythology, there was the Buddha, known as Gautama, and then there was the Buddha's wicked cousin named Devadatta. Devadatta was the poster boy for being rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Kind of the way some people view Mace Windu. Whereas Gautama was more the poster boy for being flexible, loving, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind of like comparing Mace Windu to Qui-Gon Jinn. Now, for those who are rigid and controlling, they think that manipulating people with using fear to manipulate people is just Jim Dandy. But what they fail to realize is that the more we indulge our fear deliberately, the more we rely upon it, the way an aging disabled fellow such as myself would rely upon canes, the more our blood coalesces around our amygdala, the seat of both aggression and anxiety. To paraphrase our friend Archer, do you want to be a cranky bastard? Because this is how you become a cranky bastard. When instead of relying on fear, we rely on empathy. Our blood shifts to our anterior cingulate gyrus, the hub of our mirror neurons, and life is much more blissful and joyful and peaceful. When we cease to rely on concentration and contemplation and instead rely on the sympathetic nervous system for passive mindfulness and the parasympathetic nervous system for passive meditation, then switching from the amygdala to the anterior cingulate gyrus, from fear to love, occurs spontaneously. If we use the idea of impermanence to coerce ourselves or others, we will be sowing the seeds of resentment. However, if we use the involuntary perceptions of impermanence correctly, it can just help us to see the futility of grasping. I might love a particular season, but that season is fleeting. I might love the full moon, but it's fleeting. I might love sunset, but it's fleeting. It doesn't take a great scholar to sit and watch and observe that things change. As we sit in meditation, we observe a position go from comfortable to uncomfortable. As we sit in meditation, we feel our lungs swell and sink. As we sit in meditation, we observe the coming and going of sights and sounds and sensations and flavors and scents and the like, as well as the evanescence of emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. So the impermanence the Buddha had in mind was not the impermanence contrived by a pseudo-intellectual scholar, but the impermanence we involuntarily experience every day. I do look forward to chanting and meditating with you further after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent more than 8 hours a day every day, studying, practicing, reverse engineering, and mastering the teachings and techniques of each school of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. As I'm blowing a kiss to my departing partner, not to you, I promise this is not that kind of a video. So welcome to Chinmay Zig's Easy Dzogchen. Dzogchen is a fancy word, and it means meditation. It refers, in this context, as an umbrella term for 3 types of meditation: awareness and letting go, bliss and letting go, and love and letting go. We're going to play with all 3 several times during this morning's practice. The name Chinmay Zig is translated from the Sanskrit Avalokiteshvara to Tibetan, which in turn could be translated into English as kind gaze. Upon the path of yin, we view not this image as an entity to be worshipped, but an archetype whose iconography reminds us that we are already wired to master the Buddha's path quickly and easily. For the duration of this morning's practice, we're going to be continually flip-flopping between mantra meditation and silent meditation. So I think it's a good idea to begin by reviewing the mantra's meaning. Please chant with me. Om, I invoke the wish of healing money, jewel of love, and the purifying lotus of letting go. Supplicating Muthung may love and letting go be mastered by all. Quick reminder. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window. That way I can ignore it, stumble upon it, and then point and laugh. So we're breaking this down into a series of very short practices. It's kind of like a necklace of beads. Each of these practices is between 3 to 10 minutes in length. So if you wanted to, you could go through this incrementally. Because the purpose of this is to be a tool, not a millstone hung around your neck. Our first exercise is known in Tibet as Lama Kieno, which translates into English as calling the teacher as from afar. When we take it figuratively, it's just a form of energy work that makes it effortless for us to traverse the path of bliss and letting go. This is known by many names, including completion stage tantra, and yes, the great irony is that we're starting with completion, go figure. Bindu Mahamudra, Anu Yoga, Tikle drop, which is short for channels, winds and drops. It falls under the heading of Tantra Alpak or Nyu Ngondro, depending on whether you prefer Sanskrit or Tibetan. In this image, which we shall use at least twice this morning, the bronze image represents our own enlightened potential. This couple sitting, sporting in tantric union, literally represent the teachings, figuratively represent our experience of energy, real or imagined, gathered either above our crown or upon it. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite Lama come to this crown, and then just hand it off to our subconscious. As we exhale, please physically relax as best you can, while striving to chant these 12 syllables 4 times per breath. Om mani me me yung, 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 om mani me me yung. Om mani me me yung, 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 om mani me me yung. Om mani me me yung, 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 om mani me me yung. Om mani me me yung, om mani me me yung, om mani me me yung, om mani me me yung. Om mani me me yung, om mani me me yung, om mani me me yung, om mani me me yung. Having chanted the mantra 32 times, let us prepare to rest the mind. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. And as we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. Our next exercise is known as the outer set of, preliminary practices. Let's chant. Those who tread the path of yin use the awareness of stress to frighten us into an analog of morality. Put upon this path of yin the awareness of stress feels our empathy. Om mani me yung, 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 om mani me yung. Those who tread the path of yin use the awareness of interdependence to frighten us into a form of moral code. But upon this path of yin, the awareness of causality reminds us that our love can lighten others' loads. Om mani me yung, 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 om mani me yung. Those who tread the path of yin use the awareness of impermanence or promote a fear-driven practice, although upon this path of yin the awareness of impermanence could fuel our wisdom of letting go. Om mani me yung, 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 om mani me yung. Those who tread the path of yin use the awareness of the preciousness of our meditation opportunities to frighten us into neurotic diligence. But upon this path of yin we joyfully flow from the effortless effort of love-centered spontaneity. Om mani me yung, 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 om mani me yung. As we inhale, please silently and mentally recite sitting tall, thus remembering to generate a vertical traction between your tush and your head. During your exhalation, please silently and mentally recite relaxing. We turn now to the inner set of preliminary practices. One moment, if you please. Ah, yes, all class, all the time. Together. In our empathy, may we long to free all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and confusion. By the way, I really appreciate how Chagdud Tulku taught that the antidote to hating was love and letting go, the antidote to craving was bliss and letting go, and the antidote to confusion is awareness. Oopsie, awareness and letting go. Oh, money, mimi, yung, 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 oh, money, mimi, yung. In our pragmatism, may our liberation of our lovers be fueled by your reliance on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students, described by the metaphor of the three wish-fulfilling jewels. Oh, money, mimi, yung, 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 oh, money, mimi, yung. Rather than squander our time and energy in defensiveness, how much wiser could it be to learn from all mistakes and lessons that flow from the centered spontaneity of mindfulness and meditation? Oh, money, mimi, yung, 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 oh, money, mimi, yung. Hey, so this one is a bit complicated, a bit of the old hand jive. Our lives squandered in competition and greed leads not to peace and fulfillment. Better to live in cooperation and generosity. I think I might have misread that. Let's try that again. A life squandered in competition and greed leads not to peace and fulfillment. Better to live in cooperation and generosity. Add lives and may this mind shoot out home's crown and then offer all my stuff to Add lives and may this mind shoot out home's crown and then offer all my stuff to all the beings of nirvana and samsara. Oh, money, mimi, yung, 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 oh, money, mimi, yung. We're still going to continue with a three-syllable meditation. This time during our inhalation, let's silently and mentally recite, notice this, and during our exhalation, silently and mentally recite, relaxing. And then I shall answer a question. Oh, James, don't worry. I didn't do the hand jive this time. I thought better of it. I'm still getting used to this new verbiage. Um, so I'm going to mispronounce this name, but I'm doing it non-maliciously. Elias asked, "Can you talk about breath holds, difference of hold between inhale and exhale?" Excellent. Okay, that's a very, very good question. James, you asked a good question too. So, Elias, here's the deal. We're not. So, what I'm going to do is scooch back so I can use a visual aid. This is me scooching. Behold the scooch. Okay, so Let's explore mindfulness. Every time we breathe in, whether we know it or not, whether we mean to or not, we are effortlessly and automatically accessing our sympathetic nervous system, ensconced not within the 3-pound supercomputer between our ears, but in the thoracic region of our spinal cord. That's the part that correlates with our rib cage, despite the creativeness of this graphic. This sympathetic nervous system has not evolved to support either extreme of mind blanking or concentrating. It has evolved to support the act of simply noticing, especially when done vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. The vulnerability of this perception is exemplified by the nudity of this meditational archetype described in Sanskrit as Samantabhadra, Samantabhadri, Karma Mudra. So, if we're not concentrating actively and rigidly upon our breath, then what is our relationship to our breath? See, I've made my way back to your question, and here it is. Our relationship to our breath is the same as a piano student's relationship to their metronome. Ha ha. So when we feel, now let's back up. Now let's sprint back to our current practice. Okay, so back to the current practice. As we inhale, when we notice ourselves inhaling, we silently and mentally recite, notice this. When we notice ourselves exhaling, we silently and mentally recite, relaxing. We do not actively determine how short or long or deep or shallow our breath is. This is not Hindu pranayama, so we're not actively holding our breath. We're not actively holding our breath full. We're not actively holding our lungs empty. We're not actively doing anything. So think of it this way. Consider, if you will, the medulla oblongata region of our brainstem. It is already in charge of our autonomic practices such as respiration. It's been doing a pretty good job for the entirety of our lives. Unless we're on some serious barbiturates, then we can asphyxiate in our own body. But besides that, it's been doing a pretty good job, so there is no need for us to use our prefrontal cortex in an effort to control our breathing. If we do, number one, we run the possibility of exhausting our prefrontal cortex, the symptoms of which can look and feel like depression. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Additionally, it causes the energy or the blood to collect around our amygdala, exacerbating our aggression and our anxiety. Pretty much the opposite of peace. So, forsaking this path of contrivance, we practice the spontaneous path of noticing in harmony with our inhalation and relaxing in harmony with our exhalation. I hope that makes sense. If I've done a poor job of explaining and you have additional questions, Elias, please don't be shy. Now, to get back to James, James, is always great to hang out with you, and perhaps I should have changed the way this is crammed onto this page. Now, is there a way to make it fit? Aha, look, it fits. That's what he said. So, oh, dirty, dirty Tantrika. So let's try this again, this time with the hand jive. The hand jive is just going to be a snap. A life squandered in competition and greed leads not to peace and fulfillment. Better to live in cooperation and generosity. At life's end may this crown, at life's end may this mind shoot out of. At life's end may this mind shoot out home's crown. And then offer all my stuff to all the beings of nirvana and samsara. Now, can this fit? No, it can't. Okay. There you go. James, that hand jive was for you, senor. Okay, so let's continue with the meditation. And I think it would be better if I reverse the sequence here. James, you are utterly welcome, my friend. Your questions are a delight. And so are yours, Elias. So now we're going to practice Guru Yoga, known in Tibet as Lama Nalshur, for our third practice of energy work this morning, so we can continue practicing with bliss and letting go. So that thing we just did with rehearsing our death and rehearsing death's generosity is known as Cho, or Cho practice. And it was popularized in Tibet by a female Lama. Let's see, can I remember her name? Her name and her teacher's name. Machakalabran. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but that was her name. Oh, money, me, yung, 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 oh, money, me, yung. Oh, money, me, yung, 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 oh, money, me, yung. Sure, I can and I will. Thank you very much for the additional question, Elias. So, every time we breathe in, whether we mean to or not, we automatically and effortlessly access the sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the thoracic region of our spinal cord. It did not evolve. So remember, evolution is about survival. So we did not evolve to actively concentrate, but to passively notice. Allow me to elucidate. Imagine, if you will, two of our ancestors recently climbed out of the trees and began exploring the plains of the Serengeti. Click and clack. Click is laser focused upon a ladybug. And in his concentration, in the thrall of concentration, he is oblivious to the sound of the predator approaching and rapidly becomes lunch. His friend Clack, however, is wired differently, and he's wired to notice things vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. What does it mean to notice something vulnerably? Without protecting ourselves, without allowing ourselves to hide behind the shield of self-talk or random beliefs, to be completely vulnerable, spontaneous. So allow me to go back to the list. So we're wired to notice things vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and spontaneously or randomly. So we concentrate in a very precise way, often systematically, but we notice something just randomly. Think of it this way. The forefathers of contemporary psychology were really big on stream of consciousness. And one time in a psychology textbook, I saw this delightful comic strip touting the stream of consciousness of a puppy, which goes like this. What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? Gotta pee. What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? Gotta chew. So, so we are already wired to be in the moment. The question is whether we are aware of those inclinations already hardwired in our factory installed circuitry or not. Here, most of us were raised in late stage capitalism where we are so terrorized by authorities, be they scholastic authorities or vocational authorities, so busy keeping our nose to the grindstone, or to reference the wonderful Netflix movie Don't Look Up, so conditioned to just have a narrow tunnel vision focus on the task at hand that we cut ourselves off from the natural genius that is the birthright of every complex organism that evolved on this planet. I hope that makes more sense. So let me see, there's an additional question. Usually I'm not available at live times. Watched many of your videos, learned a lot, much appreciated. Thank you very much. And here's the cool thing. When you're watching when you're watching one of my live videos, that's no longer live, that's been stored on the servers, thanks to the kind folks at YouTube, you can still type your questions. Now, of course, the chat window is no longer accessible, but there is a comment window below the videos. So when you write your question with as much great specificity as possible, which is much specificity as possible, I will get back to you most likely in a future class, and then I will respond to that question with a link to that future class that you can watch live or recorded. So that's my promise to you, that at this point in my life, with this amount of participants, I have that luxury where I can respond to individual questions. Typically not in print, but through classes. That way I can maximize the number of people who might possibly benefit from the answer. I hope that makes sense. So bottom line, when you have questions during pre-recorded video, type them in the comment area below the video with great specificity, and I'll do my best to get back to you in a manner that I hope is beneficial. Cool. And by the way, I really, really appreciate your questions. As someone with ADHD, I am in absolute terror when I'm in someone else's class because I just want to know, and I want to know yesterday, and I'm just like psychically grabbing their lapels and saying, "Give me your wisdom now, motherfucker." So I was like I'm like the king of questions when I attend a class. Not to do it disruptively or disrespectfully, but just the pure raw enthusiasm to gobble up information, which can be likened to the Tasmanian devil in a Bugs Bunny cartoon. So I'm right there with you, and I'm elated to answer your questions. Let's continue. So that's it. We've learned now how to meditate monosyllabically, which means that we've attained a certain, what I'd like to call, contemplative cruising altitude. So as a team together, let us meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo. So having completed our first 4 exercises, we turn now to the next 2 exercises, or I should say the next two sets of exercises. The first half is bringing the experience of the 4 bases of mindfulness. And what are those? Those would be the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. So we're going to bring the experience of the 4 bases of mindfulness into the conventional path of love and letting go, where it is love that is emphasized. This is known by many names, including generation or creation stage, Tantra Mahamudra, Mahayoga, and Tokal's leap over jealousy. So just like before, you're already used to the format of silently and mentally reciting something in italics during our inhalation before making your way to the recitation, and that's fine. However, these next 8 recitations are highly figurative. So I've done my best to reverse engineer the metaphors in the concise chant that precedes each exercise. So please chant with me now. May all minds of all beings now be as peacefully wise as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha symbolized by a tikle, one suitable seed or bija mantra. So our job is not to work magic. Our job is not to actively visualize. Our job is not to believe. Our job is not to emote. Our job is simple. We're going to play with these words and these sounds in harmony with the natural processes of our body in a way that's going to strengthen the neural pathways responsible for love and letting go. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a lazy bastard. And I don't only do I dislike hard work, I'm resentful of it. So when someone says, hey, do this difficult thing, it's like, why? Why should I muck about with figures of speech when they are ungainly and prone to being misunderstood? And the answer is evolution. We evolved to think symbolically. First, our ancient ancestors perceived, and then after a very long period of time, they began to recall past perceptions and imagine or anticipate future perceptions. And so that became the armature, the framework that the sculptor uses upon which to place his clay. The armature that would become our mind is based on symbolic thinking. And when we play with symbolic thinking skillfully, it increases the probability of rapid and deep transformation. Or as they say in Tibet, transformation at the base. Let's continue. May all relationships of all beings now be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddhist communication symbolized by the six-syllable mantra. Om Mani Mimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. May all bodies of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health depicted in Buddha's thought of the blissful body of a real or imagined Devi or Yidam and archetype of enlightenment such as Chen raising. Om Mani Mimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the good fortune or boon. As a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or Vanti. Om Mani Mimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. Having chanted the mantra 32 times, let us take a well-earned rest. Let us watch the play of mind as we breathe in. Let us relax into its non-graspable nature as we breathe out. And so let's take a break from the meditation. So Alliance, at this point, I've enumerated the 4 bases of mindfulness, and we've actually done the 4 exercises. So we've explored the mental, the interpersonal, the physical, and the circumstantial. These are the 4 bases of mindfulness as applied to love. Please let me know if that makes sense to you at this point. Okay, excellent question. So, when we go back in time to the Buddha's most popular and briefest of meditation manuals, the Anapanasati Sutta, the Buddha refers to the 4 bases of mindfulness in a different sequence, and of course using different languages because it's recorded in Pali. but it's referred to in the sequence of body, body, feelings, mind, phenomena. So we've used different synonyms, and we've just used a different sequence. We use feelings in the word feelings, Vedana, is also used in the sutta on the four feelings of the world to describe our experience of the interpersonal. Our experience of the interpersonal can be thought of in terms of communication. That's the dynamism of the interpersonal. The majority of communication is nonverbal. The minority is verbal. But we use speech as a metaphor of communication, which in itself is a metaphor of the interpersonal. So by wishing that all minds be wise, we are bringing the experience of the mental into the path of love. By actively wishing that all relationships be joyfully loving, we're bringing our experience of the interpersonal into the path of love. By actively wishing that all bodies of all beings enjoy beautiful health, we're bringing the physical into the path of love. By wishing that all circumstances of all beings be profoundly fortunate and safe, we're bringing the circumstantial into the path of love. 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path pertains to loving kindness. Wishing love, kind communication, kind conduct, and kind commerce. The remaining 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path pertains to wisdom. And we're going to explore that. We're going to bring the four bases of mindfulness into the path of the wisdom of letting go momentarily. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, please, I invite you to be persistent. Be tenacious. Be like a dog with a bone until you get it. Be ruthless in your determination to understand. I'm here with you. I'm your partner in the path. I'm right there with you. No problem. This is a learning curve, and as enthusiastic a teacher as I am, I can only help you in cooperation with you. And so when you say, thanks for the effort, but I'm still confused, can you help me out with this and such, that helps me to help you. And forgive me if I'm referring to Jerry Maguire. That wasn't my intention. So let's see. Okay, again, we're going to bring the experience of the four bases of mindfulness, this time into the ultimate path of love and letting go, where it is letting go that is emphasized. So this time we're leaping over pride. And pride here does not refer to, hey, look how awesome I am. It's just the idea of grasping at the idea of a self, me, my type of thing. We're wired to do that. It's just a way of leapfrogging over it. So some people get really scared of selflessness and they never use a personal pronoun. However, the Buddha did. The Buddha took a very laid-back approach to selflessness. He basically said selflessness is just a tool, just a metaphor to explain the experience of letting go. Every time we relax, we access our parasympathetic nervous system, ensconced within the lower lumbar region and the tippy top of our cervical region, helping us to physically relax and mentally release. And when we do that, when we relax into our exhalation, whatever we notice during our inhalation can begin to feel less graspable. And so the Buddha played with metaphors, which I'll reverse engineer into similes. So for instance, as we relax into our exhalation, whatever sense of self we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel less graspable. So let's play with this and see how this plays out. Not intellectually, but viscerally, through the magic of breathing in and breathing out and noticing and relaxing. L'chaim. Together. As we inhale, we can notice our mind's perceptions, emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings quite clearly. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined bija suitable of light. Later on, we'll explore what voidness. Well, I'll just explain it right now. We're using it as a synonym for non-graspability. Think of it this way. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever mind we might have noticed during our inhalation can begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast, empty void. Now, that simile is only as effective as it is relatable. So, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void? Simple. Consider, if you will, the illusion of the infinite azure sky. I call it illusion because it's not really infinite, but it just kind of feels that way. So consider the illusion of the infinite azure sky, which, although is tantalizing to the eye, is intangible to the hand. That's a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void. You could, on a bright and beautiful morn, you could lay out a blanket on the grass, line your back, and reach up towards the sky. You can splay your hands and grasp your hands and pull them back to your face, but open up your hands and you will never find blue. The blue remains in the sky. It is classically and literally non-graspable to you and I. So that we use that as a simile to describe general non-graspability. It's very poetic and has the potential to speak to us on a very deep, visceral level. So let's chant this a second time to recapture the momentum. As we inhale, we can notice all mind's perceptions, emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings quite clearly. So we don't notice them actively. We're not saying to ourselves, okay, right now, what's my perception? Okay, what am I feeling right now? Okay, what am I remembering right now? That would be actively. We're just going about it, and occasionally a recollection occurs to us, or occasionally an emotion occurs to us, or occasionally we just notice a sight. This is wired to take place most efficiently, vulnerably and passively and viscerally and randomly. Remember, we evolved these capacities to ensure survival. Now, over the millennia, we've learned how to concentrate, but concentration was evolved to be used intermittently, and when it's used constantly, we pay a terrible price. Therefore, it's a big mistake to confuse mindfulness with concentration. Concentration is active, mindfulness is passive. They use different hunks of meat in our central nervous system. Let's continue. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to hit the blue arrow. Whoops. Okay, here we go. Show me the funny. Oh, bless your heart, James. To you I send a hug. Thank you, Elias. That's very kind of you to say. So, here we go. Oh, money made me young, 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 oh, money made me young. So as I mentioned in my introduction, I spent a very long time, many, many years, reverse engineering Buddhist Tantra. So these similes, I would love to tell you that I'm so brilliant, I figured it out myself, but I'm not. These similes have been used by good-hearted teachers for many, 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 many centuries. But I appreciate the compliment. Thank you very much. I just do not wish to deceive you. And now that we've got the basic pattern, it's going to be easier. It's kind of like riding your bike downhill. It gets easier and easier. Here we go. As we inhale, the interpersonal experience of communication or speech could sound quite resounding. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, it could feel as non-graspable or what is a real or imagined mantra of light. So this is a common theme in the wisdom teachings, that things can be appearing yet not graspable, resounding yet not graspable, sensual yet not graspable, flavorful yet not graspable, fragrant yet not graspable. That the things can be emotional yet not graspable, intentional yet not graspable, lucid yet not graspable, reminiscent yet non-graspable, phantasmagoric yet non-graspable. So this is not something we have to believe. This is something we get to experience viscerally in awe. To quote Fat Bastard from the Austin Powers movies, in awe bellies. Okay, that's not really a quote. That's a paraphrase. But here's how it works. As we breathe in, we're designed, we have evolved to perceive all these really cool things. And as we exhale, we are already designed, we're already evolved to let go of these things. We don't have to force perception. We don't have to force release. All we need to do is align our prefrontal, align this 3-pound supercomputer between our ears with the profound mechanisms of our spinal cord. And we do that by silently and mentally reciting words such as this and ease in harmony with our inhalation and exhalation. And that prevents our brain from getting in our own way and helps our brain instead to cooperate with the autonomic nervous system. Oh, money me me yung, 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 oh, money me me yung. Why have I had to spend years reverse engineering? Because not all teachers are wise, and not all teachers are loving. And sometimes people maliciously obscure the teachings. Sometimes people lazy-mindedly obscure the teachings. Why in the Chan tradition of China and the Zen tradition of Japan, lazy-minded teachers did not have the vulnerability and honesty to say, I don't know. So they concocted a bunch of techniques to hide what they didn't know and put the burden on the shoulders of the student. And it created a lot of harm, but that's not unique to China. That's not unique to Japan. Wherever there are humans, according to Sturgeon's law, approximately 90% are going to be rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. And only a slender minority have the wisdom and the love and the courage to be flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. And so I've had my hands full. Luckily, I'm brain damaged as hell, and that might sound like a weird sentence, but because of my autism, Buddhism and Taoism and neuroscience have been fascinations of mine, and because I've ADHD and I'm able to engage in hyperfixations, often to the detriment of my health, I was able to put things together in a way that helped me cope with my own horrific disabilities. People who have ADHD and autism really struggle with emotional regulation. It's not a psychological problem, it's a neurological problem. And so I'm reminded of the words of Dilgo Kensei that I'm going to paraphrase. If meditation doesn't help with your emotions, then what good is it? I've known meditation teachers who didn't care. They didn't give a tuppeny fig about people's emotions. And they often didn't do really well on the path. So the only way I've been able to survive my ADHD and my autism, which were exacerbated by fetal alcohol exposure, post-traumatic brain damage, PTSD, and myalgic encephalomyelitis, is by taking a profoundly pragmatic approach to the teaching. So I'd love to tell you that I'm brilliant and I'm altruistic, but no, I've done this just to survive. And of course, I'm elated to help others to use these techniques as well. But for me, the litmus test of any teaching is not how old it is or how cool it sounds, but how well it works in the laboratory of body and mind. In what separates science from philosophy is that we take no matter how elegant a theory or formula may be, it must always be processed and tested through the rigors of experimentation. The scientific method is not a body of knowledge, but a collection of techniques we use to discover knowledge. And that can be applied to the spiritual path. And from a certain point of view, the Buddhist path can be thought of that way. We do not accept the teachings blindly. We apply them. And when we have questions, we ask. And if the answers we get help us to get good results, then we found a good teacher. But if the answers we get or don't help us to generate good results, then we continue searching for a teacher whose head is not stored in a warm, dark, smelly place. Let's continue. As we inhale, our bodies or forms could feel quite sensual. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel it as not graspable or what is a real or imagined octibolium of light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Oh, by the way, I used the wrong term. The autism term is not fascination, it is special interest. I try to use the technical terms when possible so that to eliminate confusion. Okay, we come to the 8th exercise. Here we go. As we inhale, all circumstances or lots could appear quite vivid. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined paradise or vati of light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. So let's skip ahead because I try not to keep these teachings too long because it exhausts people. So let's jump ahead. Okay, let's bring the spontaneous play of mind into the path of awareness and letting go. This is known by many names, including Dzogchen's Great Completion Stage Tantra, Sutra Mahamudra, Ati Yoga, or Trekcho's slice through the duality of dread and desire. It is as easy as falling off a log. As we breathe in, we silently and mentally recite, relaxing into this. As we exhale, we physically relax as best we can, while chanting, doing your best to chant these 12 syllables 4 times per breath. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we breathe in, let us watch the play of mind as silently and mentally we recite the demonstrative pronoun this. As we exhale, let's relax into mind's non-graspable nature as silently and mentally we recite the one-syllable verb ease. Let us seal this practice with the love that wishes for the universal mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path together. May all master their Tingo in love as well as communication, conduct, and commerce. May all master the effortless effort of love-centered spontaneity as well as mindfulness and meditation. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 9 3/4 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.